Some people say that science has all the answers, but the truth is there are a lot of things we just can't explain, at least not yet. We'll show you some mind-boggling discoveries that even had scientists scratching their heads. If you are having trouble figuring out how to stay up to date with The Richest, you need to discover the subscribe and notification buttons. Dyatlov Pass Incident. An experienced trekking group from Ural Polytechnical Institute went on a trip through the Ural Mountains from which none of them returned. When their campsite was discovered, they found 8 bodies under very suspicious circumstances. After inexplicably leaving the safety of their tents and campsites, 6 succumbed to hypothermia, while 3 showed signs of intense physical trauma, including a woman who had her tongue and eyes removed, and a man with brain damage but no sign of an injured skull. This gruesome discovery made headlines and became known as the Dyatlov Pass Incident, after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. Many theories began to circulate, but each was shot down. When examining the campsite, there were no unusual tracks or signs of a struggle, but their tent had been ripped apart from within. It seems the victims left willingly but were only partially dressed at the time. Some had only one shoe, while others had just socks on. Some speculated that animals or other humans could have caused this, but there was no evidence of any strangers approaching the camp. Others thought maybe one member had disappeared and the others had gone after them, but this doesn't explain the strange injuries or them being partially clothed. Besides, these were experienced mountain climbers who would not have run into the snow with no shoes on. This incident occurred in 1959, and we are no closer to learning what really happened that cold February night. Dancing plague. If you thought dancing until you drop was just an expression, think again. It was a very real thing for those afflicted by the dancing plague of 1518. If you think the Cotton Eye Joe or the Macarena were the worst things to happen to dancing, at least those didn't result in any fatalities. In July 1518, a single woman began dancing wildly in the streets despite the absence of any sort of music. Within a single week, she was joined by over 30 others. Hundreds more were joined before the month was over, and they were primarily women. As you may know, non-stop dancing is hardly sustainable, and people began passing away from heart attacks, strokes, and exhaustion. Some reports indicate that about 15 people per day were lost to the dancing. The town was in crisis and tried playing music to persuade the dancers to stop when it ended. Finally, in September, the dancers were removed to a mountaintop where they were prayed over, and the survivors were finally able to stop their dangerous dancing. So what on earth caused this madness? Well, we don't know. There are a few theories, however, one of which is some sort of mass hysteria brought on by stress-induced psychosis. Others believe that it was a form of food poisoning brought on by ingesting ergot, a toxic mold that grows on grains and can cause spasms and hallucinations. Bimini Road. Every time something unusual is discovered underwater, people start claiming that it has something to do with Atlantis, and this underwater mystery is no exception. Known as the Bimini Road, this underwater rock formation is found near Bimini Island in the Bahamas. Although it's called a road, we aren't sure what it is, and some people suspect it may have been a wall or pier at some point. What we do know is that it's composed of roughly rectangular limestone blocks, and this beach rock is native to the Bahamas. Due to erosion, it's unlikely that any man-made marks to the structure would have survived this long, giving us little clues to go on. Scientists have attempted to use radiocarbon dating to determine when the road was constructed, but there was a dispute because the dating was done using whole rock samples, which could have been contaminated from younger carbon. Some people believe that there was a geological explanation for this structure, while others are convinced that it was made by humans. High voltage syndrome. While many people claiming to have special powers have had their abilities disproven, there have been several instances of people that can do things science can't quite explain. Jacqueline Priestman claimed to suffer from what is known as high voltage syndrome. She had lived a normal life in Manchester, England with her husband Ron. After his tragic passing, following a heated argument between the two, Jacqueline began noticing something unusual. Light bulbs began to burst whenever she was in the vicinity, and her vacuum cleaner burnt out the second she touched it. A repairman who examined it could find no cause for the malfunction. At first, she attributed these things to bad luck, but after being haunted by exploding bulbs and light sockets and having many other devices go awry, she reached out for help. For some reason that scientists couldn't explain, she was accumulating massive amounts of static electricity. Utilizing static discharge devices and removing all carpets from her home was all Jacqueline could do to mitigate this strange and unexplainable phenomena. The disappearance of Jim Gray. The ocean can be a treacherous place, and there are many tales of people being lost at sea. Jim Gray was a brilliant computer scientist and Turing Award recipient who set out to sea and was never seen again. That is tragic, but not exactly a mystery until you consider the facts surrounding his disappearance. In 2007, Jim went sailing in order to scatter his mother's ashes on the Farallon Islands near San Francisco. His 40-foot yacht named Tenacious was equipped with an automatically deployable emergency position indicating radio beacon. This means that if the ship had gone down, the device would have automatically deployed and sent a distress signal out, but no signal was sent. The area that Gray was traveling in was well populated and the weather was clear. All in all, this couldn't have been a more safe excursion, and yet Gray and his boat both vanished without a trace. The search effort to find him was massive and included a satellite scan of the area, generating thousands of images that were posted to Amazon Mechanical Turk for people to search through. 5 years after his disappearance, he was declared legally dead since no trace of him has been found. Let's see if you can figure out a mystery. This device was found in a shipwreck off a Greek island and is considered to be the world's first computer. Do you know what this mysterious device is called? We'll tell you at the end of our video. Rongorongo. Easter Island is a pretty mysterious place to begin with, so it's not surprising that it is where this strange system of glyphs was discovered. They're known as Rongorongo, and they appear to be an early system of writing. Many people have tried to decipher them but have had no luck in doing so. They have managed to recognize some dates and names, further bolstering the claim that this is writing, but that's about it. If it does turn out to be an actual written language, this would be one of very few independent inventions of writing in all of human history. 24 wood objects with Rongorongo inscriptions were found, and they have since been scattered to museums and private collections all around the world. It's thought that these were created no earlier than the 13th century, with some being traced to the 18th or 19th century because they were inscribed on European ores. Many people believe that Rongorongo isn't actual writing at all, but a type of proto-writing. Proto-writing isn't actual writing, but shares many characteristics. If this is true, these artifacts could showcase a stepping stone to a fully developed writing system. The White Bird. Known as the L'Oiseau Blanc or the White Bird, this aircraft is behind what is considered the greatest aviation mystery of all time. The White Bird was a French Levasseur PL-8 biplane flown by Charles Nangesser and François Colly. The pair set off in May of 1927 to attempt the first non-stop transatlantic flight between Paris and New York City. Less than 2 weeks later, Charles Lindbergh successfully completed the journey in his plane, the Spirit of St. Louis, but the White Bird was nowhere to be found. It had last been spotted flying over Ireland, and when it was clear that something had gone wrong, an international search was launched to find the pilots. The French Navy, the United States Navy, and the Royal Canadian Navy all joined in on the search but found no trace of the aircraft. Many people assumed that the plane had crashed into the Atlantic during a storm, but witnesses in Newfoundland and Maine both reported seeing a similar-looking plane flying overhead. If these eyewitness accounts were accurate, it meant that the plane was flying well behind schedule. The fate of Nangesser and Colly is unknown, with some people believing that they survived and were living in Canada, and others convinced that their plane was shot down by bootleggers. Since the plane was constructed primarily of plywood and canvas, traces of it would likely be gone by now, so we may never know what happened. Yonaguni Monument. Like the Bimini Road, there is a debate over whether the Yonaguni Monument is a natural formation or something man-made. This submerged rock formation was found off the coast of Yonaguni in Japan in 1987 by a pair of divers searching for hammerhead sharks. We think that most swimmers would be much happier to find a strange and mysterious monument rather than a potentially dangerous wild animal. Since its discovery, it's become a popular location for divers to congregate to inspect the strange structure. It's made of fine sandstones and mudstones, and some claim it's a natural formation from millions of years ago. Others believe that due to the flat parallel faces, sharp edges, and right angles of the structure, it has to be some created by a human hand. Some people claim to be able to see faint carvings on the side of the monument, including images of animals and human faces. It's even been referred to as the Japanese Atlantis, and the debate over what this is and how it was formed continues. Stone spheres of Costa Rica. At first glance, these stones don't seem to be particularly baffling. They even look like something you might see in front of your local Target, but the context of how these spheres were created and what they may mean makes this a great unsolved archaeological mystery. Also, it's important to take into account that there are 300 of these stone spheres that were found all over Costa Rica. They range in size from a few centimeters to over 6 feet in diameter and are made of different materials. It's thought that they were made by hammering boulders with other rocks and then polishing them with sand, but the level of craftsmanship varies with each rock. There are several myths surrounding them, including that they came up from Atlantis or that they are the result of a natural occurrence. The most popular theory is that they were once placed in relation to the houses of chiefs, but we don't know for sure. People have even tried breaking them open to see if they were filled with treasure, but this just resulted in destroying them. Oak Island Money Pit. Mysteries are always much more exciting when there is a possibility of hidden treasure. There have long been stories of buried pirate treasures on Oak Island off the coast of Nova Scotia. The infamous pirate Captain William Kidd even admitted to hiding a cache of treasure somewhere in the area. Perhaps the most infamous and intriguing possible location is in the Oak Island Money Pit. There have been many attempts to drain the water out of this mysterious pit since its discovery in 1795, but they have all failed so far. While some progress has been made to literally get to the bottom of this mystery, the glacial system of water-filled caves underneath the pit are thought to be responsible for the relentless flooding. Making the whole thing even more curious is that there are reports of a stone found on the island in which mysterious markings had been carved. Some believe it's a clue regarding how to get to the bottom of the money pit. Many people consider the Antikythera mechanism to be the world's first computer. It's used to predict astronomical positions, but was created far before the technology it utilizes was developed, at least according to any records or other artifact evidence. Do you have any explanations for these baffling discoveries? Well, any explanation besides aliens. Share your best theories with us in the comment section. And before you go, please be sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel for even more amazing content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.